Professor Carol DeWeck, a psychology professor at Stanford University, mentions in the course of lifelong development that what determines differences between individuals isn't innate talent, nor the degree of diligence, but rather, it's the pattern of thinking. The level of one's thinking is their life's limit. After cultivating these 7 top-tier modes of thinking, you'll find yourself on the brink of urbanity. The weight of a single drop of rain in mosquito thinking is approximately 50 times that of a mosquito itself. Coupled with the acceleration of its descent, its impact on the mosquito is comparable to that of a heavy-duty bus colliding at full speed. So why is it that on rainy days, most mosquitoes emerge unscathed? An American professor captured scenes of mosquitoes escaping in the rain with a high-speed camera. When raindrops hit the mosquito's wings and legs, it tilts inward, then rolls sideways to let the raindrop slide off its side. Mosquitoes are covered in hydrophobic materials, much like lotus leaves, allowing them to elegantly escape simply by stretching their limbs. When raindrops directly strike a mosquito, it initially follows the powerful thrust of the raindrop and falls along with it. Subsequently, it swiftly makes lateral adjustments, separates from the raindrop, and resumes flight. Regardless of how heavy the raindrop, mosquitoes can still escape unscathed because they continuously adjust their strategies in response to changing environments and circumstances. This also confirms Darwin's point in the theory of evolution: the species that survive are not the strongest or the smartest, but those that respond most quickly to change. Andy Grove, the founder of Intel, once proposed the theory of tenfold change. External changes always occur 10 times faster than we anticipate. Just look at how many seemingly stable iron rice bowls have been shattered by change, and how many once illustrious jobs are being replaced by intelligent technology as the tide of the times surges forward. To establish oneself securely, perhaps one should learn from the words in the rain, actively embracing change. Only by actively changing oneself can one find certainty in uncertainty. During World War II, there was a statistical research team at Columbia University responsible for analyzing data for the US military to devise optimal strategies for soldiers. The US did not want its aircraft to be shot down by enemy forces, so they decided to add armor to the outer layer of the aircraft. However, there was a contradiction: insufficient armor coverage would result in inadequate defense, while too much armor would affect the aircraft's agility, still leading to inadequate defense. How to find the optimal solution? After compiling various data, the military discovered that different parts of the aircraft had different numbers of bullet holes. They believed that if they couldn't armor the entire aircraft, then the armor should be added to the part of the aircraft most likely to be attacked. At first glance, this seemed entirely correct, but mathematical genius Wald had a dissenting opinion. He suggested that the armor should be added to the part of the aircraft with the fewest bullet holes, namely the engine. Wald explained that from a probabilistic perspective, the likelihood of each part of the aircraft being attacked is equal. However, why is the number of bullet holes left on the engine far fewer than on other parts? He speculated that those missing bullet holes were on the aircrafts that couldn't return. Many aircraft, despite being riddled with bullet holes on the fuselage, could still return. But once the engine is damaged, the aircraft may not return. It's like in the military, where there are more patients with leg injuries than chest injuries in hospital wards. This is obviously not because legs are more prone to being hit, but because those hit in the chest are dead. Ordinary people can only see the injured aircraft, but top-notch individuals see the missing bullet holes. The difference lies in probabilistic thinking. Those with probabilistic thinking tend to make more accurate decisions. Charlie Munger once likened his investment wisdom to fishing. The first rule of fishing is to fish where the fish are. The second rule of fishing is to remember the first rule. The problems we face in our lives boil down to three: what to do, what not to do, and what to repeat. Probabilistic thinking allows us to understand what can be done, what cannot be done, and what needs to be done in the long term. In the 1990s, the British Library was to relocate from its old site in London to the new St Pancras Library District. The old library housed over 13 million volumes of books, and the estimated cost of moving was as high as £3.5 million. If you were the library director, what methods could you think of to reduce the project budget? Hiring cheaper workers or reducing transportation costs might come to mind, but in the face of such a massive undertaking, these solutions seem insufficient. How did people with top-tier thinking approach this? A young librarian approached the library director and said, "I have a solution, and it will only cost £1.5 million." The next day, the young person published the following message in the newspaper: "Effective immediately, the British Library is open to the public for free and unlimited borrowing. However, due to library relocation, please return the borrowed books to the designated new library." The young person transformed the conventional thinking of moving books into the mindset of returning books, accomplishing 90% of the relocation work with a budget not exceeding £1 million. Such is the leverage of thinking. Genius is on the left, and strategy is on the right. There is a saying that if thinking is a wall, the world is on the other side of the wall. There are no dead ends in this world. What can block you is only your fixed mindset. When faced with problems and dead ends, it might be worth turning around. You might just find yourself in a bright future. The lighthouse thinking. Best-selling American author Michael Simmons spent 5 years studying self-made billionaire entrepreneurs. He found that these outstanding entrepreneurs had astonishing similarities in how they approached problems. They viewed the world from a four-dimensional perspective, while most people remained in a one-dimensional perspective. One-dimensional thinkers focus solely on specific professional fields, whereas four-dimensional thinkers can contemplate problems from the past to the future, spanning hundreds of years. One-dimensional thinkers pursue short-term gains, whereas four-dimensional thinkers prioritize long-term returns. For example, Amazon's founder, Bezos, is willing to continue investing billions of dollars in experiments that may fail or take more than 7 years to yield returns. For instance, Warren Buffett, the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, only invests in companies he believes he can invest in for decades. Masayoshi Son, the founder of SoftBank Group, once asked a subordinate a question: "Why do most people find it difficult to achieve great success?" The subordinate was puzzled. Masayoshi Son drew a mountain on paper, drew a circle at the foot of the mountain, and another circle at the top of the mountain, and labeled ideal at the top of the mountain. Ideal is like a lighthouse. Following the goal, your patience will be better, and you will be more calm and firm. Temporary success won't make you lose your way, and brief failures won't make you feel afraid. So don't overestimate the accumulation of a year, nor underestimate the changes of 10 years. Always do the right thing, and time will provide you with the answers. The upstream thinking. The book team of the Durgot Publishing House once interviewed top programmers in China and asked them about the core challenges of this profession. Perhaps you think they deal with code every day, and the challenges are simply about how to write better code or master more programming languages. However, the answers from several technical experts were completely unrelated to this. They all unanimously locked their answers into 4 words: questioning the demand. Xie Xiaohu, the vice president of Tencent, shared such a story. When he was at Google, he was responsible for increasing the success rate from search to advertising conversion. Once, The company's business team found that the conversion rate of Chinese users was low and made a demand to his technical department to increase the font size of ads and make the background color more eye-catching. Instead of making direct adjustments, they asked, "What is the core problem you want to solve by doing this?" After communication, they found that the business department wanted to increase the conversion rate. After investigation, they found that Chinese portals often placed a bunch of densely packed images at the top, and Chinese users didn't look at them and went straight to the bottom. Google ads were displayed at the top. They later moved the ads to the bottom, and the conversion rate increased. Top engineers not only focus on code when solving problems, but also see the needs behind the code. This is typical upstream thinking. The McKinsey chart thinking also mentions a working principle: don't play whack-a-mole. Solving problems cannot be like playing whack-a-mole, hitting wherever they pop up. This way, problems will never be completely solved. Ordinary people change results when encountering problems, excellent people change causes, and top experts change their thinking. By tracing the root cause, focusing on the big picture, and finding the key nodes of the problem, one can achieve victory in one fell swoop. The lazy ant thinking. A research team at Hokkaido University in Japan once conducted an experiment. They tracked 3 colonies of black ants, each consisting of 30 ants, to observe their division of labor. They found that in the colonies, most ants were diligent, busy cleaning the nest, carrying food, and caring for the young ants. However, some ants were exceptionally lazy. When other ants were busy, they often wandered around. Biologists called these ants lazy ants and marked them. Surprisingly, when the research team cut off the ant colony's food source, the diligent ants seemed to be in chaos, while the marked lazy ants calmly led the colony to find new food sources. It turns out that the lazy ants aren't really lazy, they just spend their diligent time on reconnaissance. This is the famous lazy ant effect. Have you ever fallen into the trap of being a diligent ant? A psychology professor once listed a self-assessment questionnaire. 1. Spending a lot of time on the easiest part of the task and being satisfied with the effort without results. 2. Procrastinating in the name of preparation, appearing busy but making no progress. 3. Never verifying the results of work. 4. Reading many books but never summarizing patterns. Even if patterns are summarized, they aren't applied over time. If you have the above signs, it's time to make a change. While focusing on the road ahead, remember to occasionally look up at the distance. The field thinking. In the 19th century, the Austrian psychologist Kurt Koffka proposed a field theory. External environments are divided into 2 types: geographical environments and behavioral environments. The geographical environment is the real environment, while the behavioral environment is the imagined environment. Every action of a person is influenced by the situation in which the action occurs. Koffka told a story. One winter night, a man rode a horse to an inn in the midst of a storm. The front door was covered with thick snow, covering all the roads and signs. He was delighted to find a place to stay in the dark night. The innkeeper was surprised to welcome the stranger at the door and asked where the guest came from. The man pointed directly outside the inn. Upon hearing this, the innkeeper said in a shocked tone, "Do you know you have ridden across Lake Constance?" Hearing this, the man collapsed at the innkeeper's feet. When the man rode across the lake was the geographical environment, but his imagined environment was the snowy plain. If the man had known in advance that he would pass through a large lake, he would never have had the courage to gallop across it. It was precisely because his imagined environment was a solid plain that he was shocked and perished when he rode across the lake. People are products of their environment. The best way to change oneself is to always put oneself in an environment that nurtures oneself. If you want to improve your concentration, create an environment without distractions. Learn to evaluate and compare distractions. If you want to enhance your cognition, uninstall low-density, low-quality short video apps, and chew on classic literature. If you want a positive mindset, stay away from things that make you anxious, interact less with people, and spend more time in nature. If you are dissatisfied with your current situation, start by changing your environment. As Zhong Jinan said, the achievement of your life will ultimately be supported by your thinking mode. Thoughts determine paths. Without the heights of thought, steps cannot reach. The books you've read, the paths you've walked, the experiences you've had, and the people you've met are all stepping stones for your thinking upgrade. Continuously grind in the world, refine in the heart, and awaken in the morning bell. One day, you will break free from your self-imposed cage and see a bigger world. That's all for today's sharing. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to like it. You can also subscribe, share, and leave a comment below. See you in the next video.